for all the wonder of the genome, the last part of title tonight implies that the genome cannot tell us everything about who we are. And as a scientist and as a Christian, in what ways do you think the genome is limited in its description of who we are as human beings? And what kinds of knowledge or realities are missing from a purely genetic description of a human being?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Cheng. I think that's a really interesting and important question, um, because there's so much to learn from the study of the genome, and I don't think I will barely scratch the surface for the rest of my life. So I don't want to give the impression that the genome cannot teach us copious amounts about who we are as biological entities, our history, our present, our predispositions, our future. It can really be extraordinarily illuminating. But I do believe that genomics and science in general has limitations in terms of what it can address about who we are. Right?
Yeah.
Let me give you just an example, even from biology, that might kind of start the conversation there. It's been proposed by a lot of people that perhaps we can define humans simply as a collection of cells, right? Basically, a slightly sophisticated bag of cells with human DNA, right? And this seems kind of simple and elegant and compelling, but there are really a lot of problems, even just biologically, with this approach. So, probably many of you in the audience today, you know that one of the most remarkable discoveries in human biology in the past decade and a half or so, um, coincident with advances in genomics, is that our bodies are home to tens of trillions of microorganisms, mostly bacteria, but other kinds of microorganisms as well. Tens of trillions. It's a
Yeah.
really staggering number, right? When you stop and think about it, because if you put it in another way, slightly more than half of the cells in a human body, mine or
Mhm.
yours, they're actually not human at all.
Yeah, actually,
Right?
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and, and these bacteria, they're not just there like the viral pieces in our genome. They're actually critical for the healthy functioning
yeah,
of human organs like skin and intestine. Right? We could not properly absorb nutrients or
mm,
maintain energy without the bacteria living inside us. Right? So there's this incredibly rich, complex symbiosis going on, and without those bacteria, we wouldn't quite be who we are. Right? So even from a strictly biological sense, um, a human can't really be defined by a collection of human cells alone, right?
mm,
There is an interconnectedness and relationship with other beings, most that we cannot even see with the naked eye, that contributes to who we are, right? So it's already more complicated, and we haven't even gotten into the spiritual side of things, right?
yeah,
So, whether it's the microbiome in our bodies or the pieces of viral DNA found in our genomes, um, I think biology keeps bringing to light a fundamental connectedness
yeah,
among different life forms, but we cannot even, people with a faith based persuasion or even atheists I've found in my circle can't seem to shake that there is something different about us humans, right?
yeah,
We uh, uniquely seem to crave answers to questions about purpose and meaning. Um, and I think we uniquely are creating Veritas forums around the world to sit around and have these discussions, right? And these are exactly the kinds of questions that science is not equipped to tackle. I don't believe it has the tools to tackle it.
yeah,
And maybe I can just end with one kind of point here. I don't want to end by saying that science can't tackle it and therefore we can't know. I think the reality is that there are other ways of knowing.
mhm,
And this is where I think the book of Genesis offers a fresh perspective,
yeah,
because during the telling of how the universe came to be, the phrase image of God is used only for one species. I mean, this is the idea that seems to kind of separate us.
yeah,
Um, And for those who are interested, there's a fascinating book called The Liberating Image by Dr. Richard Middleton, who's a Bible scholar and a theologian. And he defines the image of God as the royal office of human beings as God's representatives and agents in the world. And so, in a sense, we're called to manifest and channel the character of God, kind of priestly service, right, toward the rest of creation. And I think that gives us this flavor that the image of God, this thing that might separate us, is not a biological feature. It's not something encoded in our genomes. It's not a gene or two that we can discover. It's a vocational calling, right, that is gifted to us by our Maker. And I think this is kind of really what sets us apart, what leads us to sit here and have these kinds of discussions. I think there are contributions to that from our biology and our genetics, but it's not the whole picture.